Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Apex Podcast. My name is Meredith, and I will be hosting today. Today, it is just me and Paul hanging out, talking all things Miami, Texas Motor Speedway, and IndyCar. How are you today, Paul?
I am great. F1 was back. It was a pretty eventful race. Overall, I can't wait to get into it. So I'm super pumped. Although my voice is a little weird. Hopefully, I'm not coming down with a cold. So
Please don't. You've
this
got too much
episode's
travel
brought to
coming
you.
up.
Yeah, this episode's brought to you by Cough Drops.
Kroger brand, not Ricola this week.
Yeah, no, we're on the bargain deal over here. Okay, we don't do this name brand stuff.
Yeah, we do grocery store private label. Thank you very much. Save it a buck where we can.
Absolutely. Do you see
Put
the
it in
gas
the
prices
put
these
it
days?
in the beer money fund for races, where
Beer,
$1 per savings adds up.
beer money? It's fuel money. Have you seen the prices of fuel these days?
Yeah, I did fill up my car the other day and I had some sticker shock. I was like, I'm sorry, how much was that to fill up my
Yeah,
SUV?
yeah. It hurts. It
I'm
hurts
just
the
glad I
soul.
don't have a
Just
diesel.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
my mom was texting me they're on a trip and she was like, it's like 6.79 per gallon here.
Whew. At this point, I'm
No,
just
thank
gonna
you.
ride my bicycle to work. I don't
Seriously, I'm
even
about to
know.
get
I don't.
real into walking.
Yeah, big walking.
Fitness is my passion.
Absolutely. Yeah, that and I'm too poor to get fuel.
It's like I was on a work trip last week and I took like a bazillion Ubers and I was doing my expense report and I was like,
Yo,
people who don't have cars that are just Ubering everywhere, that's even more expensive. How are they
whoosh.
are they affording this?
Yeah, good for them. I can't do
Insanity.
it.
Well, let's get right into the awesome racing because like I was just over the moon to have F1 back. We had NASCAR this weekend too. So I think it was just a really awesome week. We had IMSA too, but we're going to save IMSA talk for when Josh gets back. Josh will be back next week. We are super excited to have him back on next week. So we'll save our IMSA talk and endurance racing talk for Josh next week. But let's get right into F1 weekend. This was our first chance to see the cars back on track with the new regulation changes. We had a little bit of an extended first practice session ahead of that sprint race and everything. So what were your just initial thoughts over the weekend before we get too much into race details? Overall reactions to the regulation changes and seeing how the cars performed to it. What were your thoughts?
Overall, I was just stoked in general because Miami is a great track. It really brings out the glitz and the glamour of it. Great liveries from the cars. Not all of them. I mean, the V car that yellow was awesome. I really
Loved
enjoyed
it.
that. I wasn't a big fan of Mercedes's purple suits.
I'm a little unclear on the purple. You know what it was giving me? It was giving me the Ally NASCAR paint scheme that's on
Yeah,
that's Alex Bowman has run
yeah.
before.
It,
I was like,
yeah,
I'm missing something.
it was purple suits, but the car was still the regular color. So like that kind of threw me off. But and then this is one of the big tracks where you get the first big package, the big upgrade packages. So it was good. It was curiosity to see what team was going to do good. And man, on my TikTok, I talked about one of the three things I was looking forward to was the midfield teams, how they were going to do. Man, there were some midfield teams I can't wait to talk about that really brought some upgrades and are
Who
really
is your number
showing
one midfield upgrade?
that I was that
Yeah, who do you think was the best midfield upgrade that we saw throughout the weekend?
by far it's got to be Alpine
Alpine by far.
by far. I mean,
Literally wrote down specifically to talk about Alpine. Like that.
both
Wow.
cars in Q3 in qualifying, both really good. They both showed really well. So whatever they got cooking at the Alpine factory, keep it going, son. Keep it going. And also Williams. Williams also did great. They finished what, ninth and 10th. So
Yeah, double points.
in the grand scheme of things, not a lot of points for the team, but hey, any point is better than no point. So
Points are
hope
points and progress is progress. I was
absolutely.
agreeing. I was super excited. Also, Aston Martin, both cars finished the race yesterday. First race of the season, both cars have finished. So,
Yes.
hey, we're moving in the right direction here.
Baby steps with Alpine.
Baby steps. But
So
let's
yeah,
get right into some of the racing. So the sprint race, I thought it was a really exciting race just in terms of sprint performance from two teams that I've seen really struggle throughout the beginning of the season so far. Let's talk McLaren first and foremost. So podium for the sprint race was Lando, Oscar, and Charles. And we actually all thought Charles was really going to do well in Miami. We were prepared for Ferrari to bring big upgrades. We had heard that McLaren was bringing big upgrades. But overall, I was really, really, really pleased with what we saw from the Ferrari and McLaren upgrades. I think
absolutely.
Mercedes has stayed really consistent. I think they will continue to, but I thought the sprint race was, it's not like there was anything big crazy that happened in the sprint race. And they had really good weather for the sprint race too, which I think helped them out. And I think there was a lot of chatter about the weather for the Sunday race. So I think they were just excited to get out there and have good, clean racing. But I was really, really, really pleasantly surprised with the McLaren upgrades and how Lando and Oscar drove. I also was just honestly excited to see Lando to get a victory. I know it's a sprint victory, but I think that when you had a really rough start to the season, like McLaren has, coming off of a constructor and a world driver championship in the previous season, there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders. So I was excited to see McLaren do well. I was excited to see the Ferraris look really good too. And again, just like the points delivery of some of those midfield teams that we weren't expecting, just overall incredible. And I think that that's what we've been looking for and what we're hoping for with these slight regulation changes to see safer driving, but the drivers being competitive and enjoying it. It really seemed like they were having a lot of fun. Did you have any other thoughts or see anything else on the sprint race?
No. I mean, in general, I like that it's now couple more teams are added. Now, you got Red Bull. Max is doing really well or had a really good weekend. So
Yeah, he
that
did.
kind of makes things spicy towards the top. And it looks like it's not going to be a McLaren run or pardon me, a Mercedes runaway. There's going to be some contenders that are going to give Kimi and George a battle.
Agreed. And I think, to Mercedes' dismay, having two races canceled when they were on a heater, that's actually really good for the other teams that are on the grid because it gives them an opportunity to get back up there, have some solid points in those races. Picking up any sprint victory points, yeah, it's not the same as winning a complete race, but hey, 1-2ing in the sprint race gets you some points. And then, they had some really solid points in there yesterday too. So let's just go straight into race day. I know that we were watching kind of at different times, couldn't really watch live. I was dropping people off at the airport. You were tackling stuff and had work to get ready for. But what were
Also,
what were your thoughts on the race?
are you kind of annoyed that they moved it 3 hours earlier to avoid the rain?
I was selfishly, I was because I was like, well, now I can't watch it live like on my TV, and I was actually going to try to go to a watch party. Space City Racing is a new racing club here in Houston that a bunch of different people got together and created, and I haven't gotten to go to any of the races. So yesterday afternoon, my plan was that I was going to drop the family off at the airport, come back, hang out for a little bit, get some laundry started, and then I was going to try and go in town to the Space City Racing Club to go watch the race with them and meet some people. But with them moving it up, I just had to like watch from my phone in the car as we dropped them off, and sweet Joe was driving so that I could watch the race. So shout out Joe for that. But I was able to watch for the most part while it was live. I was like, I think 3 laps behind where everyone else was. So I'm like texting friends being like, don't say anything. I am behind.
Don't ruin this.
Yeah, and it was like I was adamant I was not going to open social media and spoil anything. But I understand the reasoning because if the rain was anything like it was predicted to be and the start time had been kept the same, I didn't even see what the weather happened after. I don't even know if it ended up raining or not, but I completely understand that decision. They already had 2 races canceled. Like let's do what we can to mitigate that and still have good racing and still have fans and sponsors be really pleased. So I completely understood
See,
from
I
a
was bummed
business
out.
standpoint.
And granted, we don't know how much rain they got because I didn't really care once the race ended. But we have wet tires for a reason, right? This is what they should just be able to drive in all elements. And I was kind of bummed out because I really wanted to see them in the wet.
Yeah, I agree because I think about like what great racing we get in Brazil, even with a lot of the rain
Absolutely.
there. But the other part of me was like the FIA is coming off of being in the hot seat about safety for drivers. And, they just had to make some regulation changes because of the safety concerns. So I definitely understand the pressure to like keep the driver safe. And if we would have asked them to drive in the pouring rain, if that rain that they got yesterday was anything like the rain that we had here in Houston over the weekend, I mean, like Joe's golf tournament got rained out one day, torrential downpoured for a solid 6 to 8 hours down here.
Yeah, we got some pretty nasty rain over here too, a couple days last
Yeah.
week. So I'm sure it
So I'm
wasn't
like
easy.
thinking about the safety of our drivers, and I'm like, anybody trying to race in, even if it was a fraction of what the rain was here, completely unsafe conditions. And it was rainy last year when I went to the Miami race, but the difference was that the weather predictions were that it was going to rain heavy in the morning, maybe light rain at the start of the race and then taper off, and that's exactly what it did. The rain forecast in Miami was actually the opposite. It was light rain in the morning predicted, maybe a break, and then supposed to be really heavy. So I get why they did it, and I'm glad that we still got to see racing, and I'm glad that the fans and people that were there got to go. Better than it not happening at all, or them being like, we're just going to run 2 sprints instead.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad they made the shift. And I'm glad they made the shift early, not like a day of decision, so that it give people time to plan.
Yeah, overall, I was happy with the product. So I like a wet race. I like this, to see what they can do.
Rain, the great equalizer. Who knows? Canada's always really rainy. You could get your wish at Canada.
Fingers crossed.
Montreal tends to be rainy. And I know that they've changed the time of year it is this year, but it tends to still be rainy. But let's talk results. So, Kimi on his third consecutive race victory on a heater, followed by Lando, and shockingly in third place, Oscar, because of the chaos of the last lap.
But hang on, before we get to the last lap, Kimmy always keeps things spicy because he does not do very good off that start line.
What is the deal? What is the deal? His starts need to be studied.
Yeah, he did not have a great start. And then Max had an amazing start, and then
Incredible. Charles, arguably best start of anybody though.
which is wow, can't even.
We've seen Ferrari do well with the starts though.
Yes, the Ferraris has had great starts this year, so that wasn't uncommon for me to see. But Kimmy, man, that boy gets poles and just cannot hang on to him.
But I think back to all the feedback about Lando a couple of years ago, right? Like 2 years ago, everybody was saying, oh, Lando's the worst starter on the grid. Lando's the worst starter on the grid. Look at all the pole positions he has. He can't convert them, blah, blah, blah. And now look at him a couple of years later. He was the driver champion last year. And so I think that it's such a learning moment. He's so young in his career. It's clearly not preventing him from getting victories. So God, imagine if he can get his starts dialed in. We might all be in trouble.
And not just that, but it's also new car, new regulations. You got to wind up the turbo in a different way than you were in previous years. So I'm sure they have to learn a whole new way of starting things.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, kind of thinking back to the liveries, I don't know if you saw the memes that the cars kind of looked like the Teletubbies. And I saw a really funny meme yesterday right after the race finish, and it was the purple Teletubby, and it was like, Tinky Winky just won his third consecutive race. And I was like, oh my God. Because I guess the purple one is like the littler one or like the younger one. I was like, yes. I don't know, but it just made me laugh. Kimmy just like huge applause to Kimmy. I really thought Lando should have had it. I don't know what happened in the car those last, 10, 15 laps. For right there, for 10 laps, he was within a second of him, and it was just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, being really close. Is he going to overtake? No, he can't take him there. So for Kimmy to be able to hold that lead and then just be able to ultimately drag it out to over 2-second lead by the end of the race, I thought that was just incredible driving. Lando, did you hear his radio right after the race? He said something along the lines of, like, great progress, so proud of the team, like, we can be winning races if we're not our own barrier, or something like that. So, like, essentially saying, like, huge progress, it's still us, though. He said there is no reason that he shouldn't have had the pace. He was on fresher tires than Kimmy was. There's no reason his car should not have had the pace to go hunt Kimmy down in those last couple of laps. And so I thought that feedback was good for his team. Oscar, he gets a podium when he shouldn't have. If whatever happened with Charles hadn't happened with Charles, Oscar would not have been on that podium. So it always cracks me up to see Oscar up on the podium, just like,
yeah, he's just there.
He's just there. But I did love his champagne celebration. He was just spraying Kimmy and the Mercedes female employee that was up there. He was spraying her too. Like, he did really join in the celebration there, but he's always just so stoic after.
Did you see that Kimmy had a different champagne bottle than the other two drivers?
Well, because he can't drink here.
Correct. So he had like sparkling water.
I was going to say, what is it, like Martinelli's sparkling cider?
Yeah, some you give to your kids. So it was just interesting to see, because my brother brought that up. He's like, did Kimmy drink the champagne? Because he can't, because he's not 21. And I went back and found a video. No, they gave him a completely different bottle. It was like sparkling water, some crap. So it was just interesting.
I wonder if there is a sponsorship for like I'm surprised we don't have a sponsorship, because all the sponsors are zero alcohol, right? I'm surprised there's not a zero alcohol sponsor for the American races in case the podium winner is underage and can't drink here. I'm surprised nobody's tapped into that.
No, it's weird. And the bottle just said like Miami Grand Prix or something.
Okay, well, that's kind of cool.
It wasn't even a company or anything.
Interesting. Huge sponsorship opportunity for the non-alc brands here in the US.
Let's keep that between us so we can cash in on the money.
We're gonna start pitching it to brands.
We're gonna edit this last minute out of the podcast.
Okay, so let's talk about the start of the race, because there was a moment that I think completely changed the dynamic of the weekend, and it was the contact with Lawson and Gasly. Because like we just mentioned, Alpine brought incredible upgrades. They were driving great. Franco with his best ever finish after the 20-second penalty given to Charles, it promoted him up for his best ever finish. Gasly was 8th in the sprint race, so he picked up some points there. Overall, just an incredibly consistent weekend for Alpine. So I was absolutely devastated with what happened with Liam. And after reading on the F1 app, it's like at first I was like, here we go again. Liam Lawson, Dennis the Menace, just causing some problems. But I was reading that he said that there was an issue with his gearbox or something, and that he couldn't.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't have.
Agreed. And I think it was clear that Pierre Gasly understood that that was not an intentional thing based on his reaction of saying, I'm just, because Pierre's a little bit of a hothead too, and he could have easily popped off about Lawson, and he has no problem popping off when he needs to. But I think it was clear that Pierre understood what happened, because he said, I'm just really disappointed that we couldn't do more for the points for the weekend, because we had an incredible weekend, and which shows that he's really optimistic.
Yeah, overall. And it was a nasty crash. It could have been really bad. I saw when I watched the race, man, that car flipped.
Yeah. I was like, all of a sudden I'm like, wait, who's airborne? Who's airborne? And why are they airborne? And then they went and they replayed it, and I saw it, and I was like, okay, that could have been so much worse, especially because it happened in the middle of a lot of traffic. So good on the other drivers that were around behind them to be able to avoid collision there, because that could have been a multi-car pileup, easy peasy, eliminating some people from the race.
Absolutely.
But of course, to my dismay, my shocker prediction was VCARB double points. So Liam being out right at the beginning just really ruined that for me. So that's what I get. Learned my lesson. I thought maybe with the emphasis of a special livery, they would really feel the vibes. But, so be it. That just happens for me.
Thus is motorsports.
Thus is motorsports. But I also had the Williams double points on my list of things that I was really excited about from the race. I think Carlos was pretty pissed off the other day about his car. And in the sprint, I can't remember whether it was in practice or in sprint or in qualifying, in one of the other sessions, Carlos was pissed. And he came on that radio and was like, this is unacceptable. I am not happy. So for them to come back on Sunday on race day and have double points, I was very happy for them.
And hopefully they can keep the ball rolling and continue to do really well, because those two drivers really need something.
They need some momentum, especially after having such a great season last season. And I know we've talked about it a million times, but them saying we're only focused on 26 and here we are. I think they needed this double points to really pick up some momentum and really maybe get some things dialed in before Canada. My other thought on Ferrari is Lewis. Let's talk about it.
I really was hoping better from him. And there was moments when he was doing really well. Like I was watching the qualifying. There was times where he was putting on good laps.
Yeah.
I know they talked about his rear tires overheating way too quick, but I don't know.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he had some issues with his rear tires. They kept overheating, and I don't know what's going on there.
I don't either.
I don't want to jump to the conclusion and say he's washed and a shell of who he used to be, but when you see Charles doing really well, and the narrative last year was, it's Charles' team. He's been there for a while. He knows a Ferrari. This is new. We started at an even keel this year. They both started at square one, and I don't know what Lewis is. I don't know.
Well, and what you just said maybe connect to something the commentators said. One of the commentators said right after Kimi finished and won the race, one of the commentators said, a lot of people talk about teams and drivers, and when we think about Red Bull and Max, like it was not just the car. Even in equal setups, Max was still dominating. They said the same argument has to be asked here about the George and Kimi dynamic. Is this just Kimi being that good of a driver? And so that just made me think about, well, does that same scenario apply to the Charles and Lewis situation? If they're in equal machinery, what is the difference for Charles being able to drive, place a little bit higher, qualify a little bit better? I mean, let's like the net race result, Lewis still finished in 7th in the sprint. And yesterday, after all the penalties and stuff, he finished in 6th. So, I mean, he's picking up great points. And it just seems like the performance.
And let's give the caveat. He did have that contact with Colapinto.
Yeah, true.
And there was a part that came out of his car. So how much did that impact the overall performance of the vehicle?
Right.
Aerodynamics. So let's make sure we say that. But overall.
But even in like qualifying performance, like I feel like we don't see as much from Lewis in qualifying. And then I feel like he's always pulling, things out of his magic hat during a race, and he's able to pick up great points, and I really love that. I just was thinking that maybe since Ferrari was bringing upgrades, and since we saw so much performance out of Charles, sprint podium, strong qualifying positions, I think I was just maybe expecting to also see an elevation out of Lewis Hamilton, so a proportional elevation of both drivers.
I
But
think as a whole, we thought he was going to do better. He seemed happier coming out of the preseason testing. He
mhm.
seemed hopeful and optimistic on how everything was going to go. And there's just on track, it just seems like it's a big dud. And like I said, I don't want to think that he's washed and a shell of who he used to be, but
I don't know. I don't know. I just hope there's a lot of racing left in the season. So I'm trying to, I'm also just trying to remember they came off a 5 week break. They're headed into another 3 week break. So it's like so much could change before Canada, and hopefully for the better. Like I was really pleased with both Ferrari and McLaren cars this weekend overall as a whole. And it's just like, how can they take that and fine tune, study the data before Canada, and really, get some strong momentum going into Canada, going into Monaco before we have our little summer break.
yes. So I'm still hopeful that he can turn it around, and I'm still hopeful that he can deliver. I don't need him to win a world champion, but I would like to at least have him compete towards the top and not
I would love
because
that.
lately for the last couple of years it's sixth, seventh, or eighth for him, or
Hmm.
fifth, sixth, and seventh, and
And
it's just
he's not a fifth, sixth, seventh driver. He's
no,
not.
he's never been that.
No. So
So
hopefully they can get it dialed in. I will say though, I I still think Ollie is the next Ferrari driver. Like in my mind, it makes a smooth transition. In my mind, I still think Ollie Behrman is the next Ferrari driver. And watching him perform this weekend, he did pretty great. He ended up just outside the points yesterday in 11th. I don't know where he placed in the sprint race. Let me check the sprint race. Ollie
sprint,
Behrman, 12th in the sprint race. So, like I just think watching him continue, I feel like I would like to put more intentionality on my focus in some of those midfield people and some of those younger drivers that, as we think about where Alonso is in his career, Nico Hulkenberg is in his career, Checo and Bottas, like they're not going to be driving forever. So I kind of want to put some more emphasis of my watching energy in some of these midfield teams or some of these rookier. He's
yeah, younger drivers. Well, and it's never too early to start with silly season predictions, but I don't know if you know this, but over half the grid doesn't have contracts for the following year.
it's going to be wild.
So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Is Lewis going to want to re-up with Ferrari for another couple years?
What's
You know,
happening to George?
what's happening with George? Uh, so it's going to be interesting. But getting back to your original point, I think it's a no-brainer that Ali's going to go into to take over that
Who knows?
second.
He may have opportunities elsewhere. I just feel like, I feel like very similar to Charles. I feel like there's a progression in a career trajectory that Charles followed. And I feel like Ollie's kind of on that same trajectory. But who knows? Ollie could get offers from anywhere. Like you said, silly season brings changes. So who freaking knows?
Yeah, it's never too early to start those predictions. So
Never too early. I mean, I was having a little bit of the Monday glums of like, well, we don't have a race this weekend. I'm like, we literally don't have a race again until Canada. I was like, man, just when we get it back, just when we
just
get it back,
just when things are going good.
it's okay. But my hope is that with it being Miami and then into Canada, they'll take these couple of weeks to look at the data, study the data based on the new regulations, any changes they made, and see what shifts they want to make. And I think it'll be really interesting to see what they do.
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts on F1 before we close out with points recap and shift to NASCAR?
No, overall, it was a solid weekend. I think we're getting a much more wheel to wheel racing, which is a lot more fun, a lot more overtakes. Overall, yes, you can always be critical on certain things, but overall, I was really happy with the weekend and how it all played out.
Me too. The only thing I will say that I wish I would have changed, somehow I need to be able to clone myself and be in two places at once. My Miami FOMO was so real. I was so glad we had family here. Joe's little brother and his girlfriend came in for our member guest golf tournament for him and Joe to play in. So fun to hang out with them. But my Miami FOMO was at like an all-time high because the experience last year was just so fun and so incredible that I really wanted to be back this year.
Yeah.
So I'm
What was
like,
the,
okay, putting it on my roadmap for 2027.
did they have a driver's parade and was it anything cool?
I don't know. Because I joined like right when we got in the car from lunch. I literally joined right as the formation lap was starting. So I don't even know if they had a whatever before. But how would you ever beat a Lego parade? How
You can't.
do you follow up on that? You know?
Yeah. So a quick Google search: Lewis, Liam, Esteban, Ollie Behrman, Lance, George, and Fernando do not have contracts after 2026. So
That's a lot of people.
that's a lot of people and a lot of high profile drivers. So what is going to happen?
God, maybe we could do some silly season predictions when we get up to it because you and I need help with points on the board.
Yes, can we add that to the overall score?
Like we might have to because we need help.
Yes.
And I'm about to tell you why. So,
No,
our podium
I know.
predictions from last week.
I know.
Josh predicted Kimmy winning, George in second, Charles in third, McLaren's in the top five for his shocker. You predicted Oscar, Lewis, Kimmy, and that V Carb, Williams, and Alpine would all score points. And then I predicted George, Oscar, and Charles for my podium, and V Carb double points. So per the rules that we created together, Josh picks up 2 points, one for Kimmy winning and one for his shocker prediction. So good on you, Josh. Previously at 4 points, now brings his total to 6.
That
Okay.
bastard isn't even part of the podcast right now. Isn't
Hey,
joining us and still winning points. I
he's
don't.
smoking our asses, in fact.
We need to team up to
Because
destroy him.
unfortunately for both you and I, we had DNFs in our shocker prediction, which per the rules we ideated and thought were such a freaking good idea. When they DNF, it's a deduction. So we both lose a point where we were previously at 2 points. So we are now back down to 1 point. So now Josh is like Kimmying us right now. Josh has 6 points. You and I both have 1 point.
We are the George Russell of predictions. Oh boy. Well, 6-1. God. We got to team up.
We gotta,
For
we
Canada,
gotta,
we
we
need to
gotta, we
team
gotta
up
team
to
up
beat Josh.
against Josh. Like we have to conspire. We've got to do something. Something must be done about this.
Josh, if you're listening, we love you, but we're going to.
We love you sincerely, and you know what? Your predictions have been stellar. Good on you. And he's beating us 6 points to 1-1, even having missed a week of doing predictions. But who knows? He could have had a podium full of DNFs on that 1 week he missed. It's the land of opportunity. Hey, quick thought before we shift to NASCAR. Isaac Hajar crashing.
Yeah.
Did you see how hard he was punching the steering wheel?
Yes.
Like, dude, have we checked his hands? Is he okay?
Yeah. He's very hard on himself. And granted, it was self-inflicted.
It was.
He
I
wrecked
hate it.
himself, but he's and I think it's being young, right?
It's being young. It's having the pressure of the second Red Bull seat.
And he's doing really well.
He's doing great. Like this.
Compared to Liam and Yuki and whatever we had previous years. I lose track because they change drivers more than I change.
They bing
my
bong around a
undergarments.
ton.
Yeah, so he's doing well, but he's so hard on himself.
He's just so hard. Like every time something happens, I'm like, give this young boy a hug. Give this young boy a hug.
Can we just get Lewis's dad to follow him and just give him a hug?
Literally. It'd be so sweet.
Yes.
But that was my last F1 thought. It was just like a last minute thing, seeing the results, and I was like, Isaac down there with the DNF. I was like, oh.
It just breaks your heart.
It does. So on to happier thoughts. NASCAR at Texas Motor Speedway for the Worth 400. My brother-in-law was there, and I was 16 shades of jealous. He was there for work, and I was like, must be tough. Must be a tough Sunday having to go to a NASCAR race and watch it from a suite. But overall, let's talk about the weekend because some exciting stuff happened throughout the weekend. So
Carson Hocevar is on a tear.
Carson Hocevar on a tear, Truck Series win, pole for Cup Series race, drove solid, was in second place for stage one. I think he ended up, what did he finish up, 7th or 8th? Just behind. He finished up like 7th or 8th, just behind Daniel Suarez.
7th. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Daniel Suarez got
Daniel
6th.
Suarez was 6th. Yeah. I mean, I think he's just driving incredibly. I think he's gaining a lot of media traction, obviously, after his first win at Dega. So I think that's awesome. Another big first, Eric Jones, first career stage win. Like, so I think it's so fun to watch NASCAR every weekend because it changes every single weekend. And, was like we had Tyler Reddick on a heater, just like Kimmy's on a heater. And I mean, he still delivered strong. He was in fourth this weekend. There was a moment in stage 3 where I was like, Reddick could win this.
Yep.
I was like, he could. But I mean, I think, stage 1, Eric Jones, stage 2, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, I mean, he drove pretty flawlessly
Yeah, he
yesterday.
was lights out.
Lights out.
Absolutely.
Like Chase Elliott, good on you. And did you see his burnout?
No.
Makes me want to go to a parking lot and do donuts. He did a burnout in donuts, was on the track, spun out onto the grass, just burnout. It
That's
was so
impressive.
fun to watch. But, for a second there, it was like, I don't remember how many laps it was to the end. There was a caution. It was like less than 10 laps. And restart happened only a couple of laps. And I know I was texting you like, God, I hope it doesn't finish under a caution. And then we restart. Chase Elliott, it was one of the most perfect restarts I've ever seen.
He did great.
Was just gone, and no knocking Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin had an incredible race coming in P2. Alex Bowman coming in third. Like what a way to make a comeback after you've missed a couple of races, right? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
Denny drove great, but Chase Elliott's restart right at the final couple of laps was just pure perfection.
And that whole 2311 team, man, that team is on tear. Bubba Wallace started last and
Yep,
finished in the top 10.
ninth. Yeah.
Yeah, he finished ninth. You got to give kudos. Even the younger drivers, Riley Herbst he started 18th, finished 11th.
Where
And
did Corey Heim end up?
he
God,
finished
when he
close.
when he wrecked, I was so bummed for him because he was leading for a little bit and he was doing
He's,
so good, and I was like, yeah, good on you.
yeah, he finished 31st, but
Yeah,
he
it
was
like when
racing
he
towards the
wrecked, it was
top. Yeah.
just that was it. I mean, he was leading for a couple of laps. What a cool feeling! Like I can't even imagine. But I just thought I thought it was an awesome weekend overall. Texas Motor Speedway, being from Texas and never having gone, feels sacrilegious to me.
Well,
But
it's a great track. It was
I'm like, Joe's
surprisingly
been.
how well it was.
Joe's been. I'm like, you're not even from Texas and you've been. I haven't been. So I definitely want to get up to Texas Motor Speedway and do a race for sure. But the fact that it conflicted with Miami, I would have gone to Miami over Texas Motor Speedway. And then having that tournament be this weekend and having family in town, I was like, yeah, I'm not missing any of that to go to a race. So
Yeah. No, but overall, it was a great NASCAR weekend. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Just
yesterday, like usually we talk about NASCAR being like 4 hours and like the NASCAR nap. I felt like NASCAR yesterday flew by. And like, it's not like it was significantly shorter. It's a big oval, but it just felt like it flew by to me yesterday. And I was like, wait, like I was like, wait, we're already at the end of stage 2. So I was already kind of bummed about that, especially
yeah,
because it was like,
and they had their fair share of cautions too, but everything seemed to move pretty
yeah, way less
relatively
cautions. It's
quick.
like the highest caution track on the season, and way less cautions than they normally have. I was trying to look up what's next. Watkins Glen is next.
Watkins
So
Glendale road
which is a
course.
tongue twister for me. I don't know why. I want to say Glenn Watkins and then Watkins comes out weird and I'm like Wadkins, Wadkids.
Watkins Glen. It's a road course, so
Fun.
they got to turn left and right.
I love that.
So you never know. I'm sure SVG is going to run away with this one like he does
Oh, I
in
would
every
love
road
that.
course.
I would love that. He's just our road course king. Can't be stopped. Can't stop,
No,
won't stop.
no, he's doing really well. And also Spire Motors, Josevar, Suarez,
Yeah.
really doing a good job.
Super strong weekend for them too. So Chili's, if you're watching this, pick up the Huckleberry Hocevar monthly special. We would love to see it on the menu. I'll do a video showing you how to make it. Huckleberry Hocevar, Chili's, do it.
We got to go have dinner at Chili's now.
I already have dinner in the oven. Okay, so speaking of road courses, Watkins Glen is a road course for NASCAR next week, but we also have IndyCar back next weekend. We had a break this last weekend. Ton of the IndyCar drivers were at F1 in Miami, which is probably so fun for them to get to go be part of another motorsport weekend. And we have the IMS road course this weekend for the Soyson. I don't even know how to say this. So it's like the Soyson GP.
Soiso Grand Prix. So it's
Soncio, the Soncio Grand Prix.
yeah.
What is Soncio? Yeah, Soncio Grand Prix. I don't know. Almost two and a half mile track, 85 laps, road course, last preparations as they're there for the Indy 500. And so I'm sure that's going to be a blast. I know the girls from Podium Pop are going to be there. So Gracie and Celine are going to be there. So y'all follow Podium Pop for their IMS road course content. I don't know if they're staying for the Indy 500 though. I bet they are.
Sure. But this is
Yeah,
a great
but
time for IndyCar. The month of May is amazing, ramping up to May 24th, which is the Indy 500. Man. And then they had testing.
yeah. Yeah, do you
And
have any updates for us from testing? I didn't watch any of the testing.
I didn't fully see it, but I know that our beloved driver Carson Daly did Carson? That's his name. That's his name, right?
Connor Daly?
Connor Daly. Carson Hocevar.
Are we like back in TRL days?
I am losing it. Connor Daly, which he doesn't have a full time seat this year, but he is driving in the Indy 500.
Oh, very
He did
cool.
really well. He finished top 10. He was towards the top. He put on better lap times than Pato did. So, yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes.
That's
is
not
right.
looking good for us, for the Pato hopefuls for the Indy 500.
It is not. However, it is testing. So let's
It is
just.
testing. Yeah, it's testing. It's to get feedback. I have to remind myself testing is to get feedback. Testing is to get feedback. Testing is to get data.
Yes. So
Stay
I think.
positive.
Well,
Positive for Pato. That's going to be my campaign for the month of May. Positive for Pato.
I'm hoping Pato. I mean, I'm hoping Pelot like rolls his ankle and can't drive really well.
No, we don't wish injury upon people.
No, I don't mean a bad injury. I just need him to like roll his ankle so he like can't work the throttle very well.
You know, like gets a blister.
Yeah, something. I need him to tear an ACL and be out for the year.
I just need Joseph Newgarden to not win it.
Can we just get? I am putting it out there. Pato's going to win it this year.
Yeah, he's going to.
Yes. And speaking of injuries, Mick Schumacher's got an injury.
I know the wrist injury.
He's got a broken wrist.
Son of a bitch.
So
Come on.
He's got a broken left wrist that he's going to try to fight through for the whole year and then get surgery on it in the off season. So
that sounds painful.
He's putting all the strain on his making his right wrist work harder than his left just to counterbalance
that it.
pain. Yeah. So
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
But he's still hanging in there.
Yeah, he is. Okay, so let's look at our motorsport calendar to see if there are any other racing events that are coming up this weekend. Spa, WEC, Spa. Duh.
That's your department.
I am so excited. We've got Spa at WEC at Spa, and then we have MotoGP in France. So 2 other really good races to watch this weekend. No, am I looking on the same row? Yes. Yeah. Yep, so those are 2 other really good racing series to watch this weekend. I'm super excited for that. WEC Spa is in my dream races. Like,
how long is it?
It's 6 hours.
Okay.
And if I had to pick whether to go to F1 Spa or WEC Spa, I would rather do WEC.
Really?
Yes. Like it's so. Have you seen the fireworks they do at Spa at night? I'm gonna text you the photo. It's it's something I dream of. Like it's just the sun is going down. You get this sherbet color sky, and then there's just these fireworks that go off at Eau Rouge. God, I'm just thinking about it. Makes me want to go. But the budget. One day. But that's all we have on the racing updates for this week. We're ready for Josh to be back. We've missed him.
Yes, Josh, come back.
Someone's got to keep us in check. And without Paul, y'all saw what happened when Alex was on with us and we just had too much fun and there was nobody for a checks and balances system. Someone's got to keep us in check.
We definitely need an adult in the group.
We do. It's not us.
No. And
I'm okay with that.
And we need his predictions to not be that good.
Yeah, we need him to come back a little cooled off. We need him to come back a little out of shape, if I'm being honest.
I'm hoping for Canada he fumbles it big time.
Fumble the bag for Canada.
Yes.
A Montreal letdown.
Yes.
The Josh Creed story. Well, everybody, we hope you have an awesome week. Tune in for some awesome racing this weekend. We got a lot of it. So don't forget NASCAR at Watkins Glen. We got IMS for IndyCar. We got France for MotoGP. We got Spa for WEC. So tune into some good racing this weekend. We will be back next week. Josh will be back to join us and we'll talk all updates. He'll catch us up on all the endurance racing, IMSA, WEC, and all the good stuff. But I hope everybody has an awesome week. We'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.